I want to say to you further that one of the very important things to note is this: why were blacks in slavery to start with? And without the use of the overhead, I'm going to simply explain it to you. The fact is that black slavery in Europe began in 1440 with the Portuguese. In fact, the record, again, by a black historian, Chancellor Williams, indicates that the Portuguese began black slave trade under a man whose name was Gomes Inez de Azuara. Between 1440 and 1448, 900 African slaves were taken to Portugal as slaves. What year was that again? 1400. The fact of the matter is that slavery of black people, you, our people, had begun 1,000 years before. And it was the Arabs who first brought blacks into slavery. Arab slavery started 1,000 years before European slavery. Slavery was a part of the fruit of the conquest, according to Islam. We came into American slavery because we had no national or diplomatic protection. Why did we not have national or diplomatic protection? The strongest nation in Africa in the early starts of Christianity, that is the first century, the time the Bible was being written, the New Testament at least, Nubia was a black African land. Egypt was a black African land. In fact, the word Egypt is a Greek word for Egypt, but Kemet is really the name, the black name for Africa. Now, you need to understand something. That while the Arabs began to take these blacks in slavery, here's how it started. In Nubia, the church was strong from the beginning. The center of the Christian church was not Rome. Rome became the center of the church because southern Africa, where Christianity was strong, was cut off from Europe. They were one church at first, until Islam began to rise. And Islam, when it began to rise, was that the bell already? Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. But when Islam began to rise, they began to fight, particularly in the church at Nubia. Here's what happened. 3 main cities in Nubia. Most of the Muslims, when they moved in, the Arabs, were in the outskirts, rather. They were in the outskirts of Nubia's main towns. When a big fight began in Nubia's capital between the clergymen and the kings, they soon moved in, and the Arabs took over Nubia. That's why it became Egypt. Until that time, it was black and it was Christian. It was a strong Christian stronghold. Now, it was so strong until it took the Arabs from the time they started in 400 until 1317 to wipe out the Christian as they thought they had. The fact is, in the bush country, there were still many who were practicing Christians. The 1374, there was a feast held in the Church of Jesus Christ in Nubia, in the main city, to celebrate the Arab conquest of Nubia and their attempt at wiping out the Christian church. The Arabs destroyed black civilization. Not only is that a fact, a black author, Chancellor Williams, who Dr. Muhammad will not quote from, because Chancellor Williams makes it plain in his book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, that it did not take place in 1400, or else the Europeans never would have come in and took us from Nubia or from Kemet. If they had come in while Nubia was strong, they would have been rebuffed. Nobody's going to come into America and take George Bush out of the White House. And folks would not, I agree, they should. But the fact is, they can't do it. And you agree they should, but you can't do it either. Now, why? Simple reason. The reason why they can't is because they had diplomatic protection around George Bush. Our people lost their diplomatic protection, they lost their civilization, they lost their nationhood because of the movement of the Arabs from the 5th century until the 13th century after Christ. Now, in 1275 they do it. I'm going to give you a page number on that since you moved your hand. Put page 42, The Destruction of Black Civilization, Chancellor Williams. You can get that. I'll give you a bibliography in just a moment. There's not only that book, but a series of other books. In fact, if you have one of these sheets, I have the book right there. I told you, I give you my books, bibliography, everything. Ask him to do that. All right, there's everything right there. Gaylord Wilmore tells you, Kane Hope Feller tells you, James Henry Breasted, J.H. Dunbar, W.B. Du Bois, Arnold Heron, Chancellor Williams, George James, Chica Antidote, William Leo Hansberry, all of them black, will tell you that the destruction of Africa as a civilization took place underneath the Arabs. Now, I'm going to tell you that it's not so much important what they did, because Dr. Muhammad has said that the Arabs were just as bad as the Europeans, and he's correct. But you need to understand, first of all, folks, that white people are newcomers to Christianity. You need to know that. It started in Africa. It was in Africa. You know the biggest slave rebellion that ever took place? The greatest slave rebellion that ever took place, like Operation Desert Storm, took place in Iraq before Muhammad was born. The Arabs, or rather right after Muhammad was born, I beg your pardon, the Arabs took slaves from the land we call Nubia, took 150,000 of them into Iraq. Them Negroes wouldn't stand for it. The brother said, no way. The brother said, you are not going to hold us enslaved, and they took control of Iraq in 868 or 863. And for 15 years, these black folks ran Iraq. Check it out. It's called the Zand's Rebellion. Z-A-N-D-G. It's in your history book if you look for it. Blacks ran it. Blacks ran Iraq. Blacks ran Iraq because they took Iraq from the Arabs who had taken them from their civilization. Now, black slaves continued to be imported into Morocco well into the 20th century. Timbuktu, and the idea of the road to Timbuktu was an idea that started because black slaves were taken from Timbuktu and taken into the Arab countries. An Arab man by the name of Saidi Ahmad Umasa was a man who had fairs called Baka to sell my people, Africans. This took place in the 8th century. When you read other writings you see in the history book called Islam in Ethiopia, we can see that Islamization and growth in the slave trade went hand in hand. Geneva Convention, listen to this. In September 25 of 1926, the nation signed a pledge to bring about progressively and as soon as possible the complete abolition of slavery. In 1926, every nation there signed except Saudi Arabia and Yemen, both Arab countries. East Africans were being sold into slavery long after the American emancipation. Now listen to this. I want to show you. I'm going to skip over some of this to show you this. We talk about a white man, and indeed he did some evil things to our people. But let me tell you something else. England abolished slavery in 1843. France, 1848. The Dutch in 1854. America in 1863. Russia in 1873. But the Arabs, without exception, except for Iran, I should say, which started in 1882, continued their slave trade. Egypt didn't abolish slave trade under the Arabs until 1923. Afghanistan, 1931. Iraq, 1924. Persia and Jordan, 1929. Muslim northern Nigeria in 1936. Yemen in 1934. Kuwait in 1938. And I want to tell you something, folks. I talked to the Anti-Slavery Society just this week 3 times. They tell me, you can call them white, brother, but if you don't like their word, go to Mauritania and you'll see black folks are still enslaved under Arabs. If that ain't good enough, let me give you a phone number. You can call them, or I'll help you buy a plane ticket and you go to Mauritania. You'll see our black brothers underneath Arabs in slavery right now in Mauritania. But let me tell you something else, folks. Listen to this from a black man. This is from Kwaku Person Lynn. He said it on KPFK radio during the African Mental Liberation Weekend not too long ago. He said this. He said, today, right now, there are Islamic countries that still have black African slaves. Even now, today. What's amazing about that, my brother, is this. What's amazing about that, and the reason why I bring it to your attention, is because now, you folks got rid of your slave name. The most popular name in the Arab countries is Muhammad. The most popular name in English-speaking countries is John. So I think it'd be right to assume that most of the slave traders were named John in America or in England or in English-speaking countries. I think it's also proper to assume that the most popular slave name in the Arab countries is Muhammad. I ask a simple question. Did you trade one slave name for another slave name? The fact is, my brother, the fact is, my friends, I don't say this to make you feel bad. I say it to you to make you get right. The point of the matter is this. You tell me that this Nation of Islam is a black thing and Christianity is of the devil. Let me ask you a question. Don't call this a black thing. It's not blackness. Why do you want to be Arabs? Why not take a name like Changamara? Why not take a name like Fambutu? Why not take a name like Uhuru? Why not take a name that's an African name? That's not a black African name. Those are Arab names, not black. Now, I'm going to tell you something as I close. I don't often drink coffee. I don't drink it very often, but I'll tell you this. When I do drink coffee, don't fool me by mixing cream in with my coffee. Don't fool me by mixing cream in with it. When you serve me coffee, make mine black. If it ain't gonna be black, don't tell me it's black. When you put cream in it, this is Arab. It's Arab. It's not black. If you're really black, then tell me your black name, Mr. Muhammad. If it's black enough, then you will go back far enough